You need to take this
And signal me when I have to cover.
cover.
As Martine was saying before, like, maybe Martine, you can touch his knee.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Because I said, okay.
Pardon?
I said, okay.
Okay.
And then, it was sudden. Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
I will do.
Okay, but
Okay,
it's
Frans,
like magic.
okay.
No, you shouldn't do that because
No,
then I need smoke and things
Then
like
I'll
that.
say, okay, Frans, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Artist Focus series. I am Martine Viale for the Out of Sight community, and I am delighted to be here live in Dordrecht in the Netherlands with the artist Frans van Lent. And the work of Frans van Lent is concept-driven and minimal in approach. Through performative and sculptural methods, his practice focuses on human behavior in the public realm and observing, processing, and redefining the ordinary ways in which this is visible. He uses various methods specifically chosen for each occasion: performance, photography, film, and sound, and descriptive text. Collaboration with other artists and the curating of events are important and consistent aspects of his artistic practice. In 2014 and 2016, he organized the Unnoticed Art Festival in important cities of the Netherlands like Haarlem. In 2015, he initiated the conceptbank.org, a free online database for performance concept. Recently, he initiated and organized La Biennale de Moments, a collaborative project of 9 international artists, resulting in the online venue moment.fr. He published 2 books, Unnoticed Art 2014 and TheParallelShow 2018, distributed by Jap Sam Books. Hello, good evening, and thank you for being here with us, Frans, and this weekend, actually, when we're preparing for La Biennale de Moments symposium, which we will talk about a bit later. But first, I would like to start our conversation looking at the more furtive aspect, almost at the visible not visible line of your work. And so also the importance of the transcription, both photography and written text.
Yeah, my performances usually are very much based on private experience. And for this private experience is in fact, you can define it as private space. Mm-hmm. And I think in normal situations, this private space is something that is happening in public space. Everybody who is in public space has at the same time his own place and his own thoughts and ideas and aims in a private space. Mm. And that is very much very much the stage that I'm working in. I'm not so much focusing on people outside in public space, not an audience. I don't want to work towards an audience, but I want to experiment mostly on experiencing things as a performer myself.
So it's like an in-between space.
Yeah. It's something from this side and something from the other side.
So could you describe your interest in this tension between the private and the public?
Yeah, in 2013, I think it was, I did a performance with some friends in a train. We were driving very fast towards Berlin. And we made sort of a plan to do a choreography in the train, in the corridors of the train. Mm-hmm. And this choreography was mostly defined by the movements of the train itself, not so much by our intentions beforehand, but we let it just be ruled by the train, you might say.
So there was people also that weren't in the performance?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
Because the train was completely filled and there were people reading and looking outside and talking. And we did our performance, and I think probably nobody realized that there was a performance going on. We were just people in the train walking in the corridors. And what I found out is that when we finally came together at the end of the performance, all participants were really very happy to have this sort of experience, done this experiment, and have had this secrecy in public space. So that sort of made clear for me that it was really important to have this sort of private things happening within the public sphere.
Mm-hmm. And also you in an earlier talk that we had, you talked about this, that you talk about your practice as a series of facts. as if it would be a manual.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, well, one of the ways to communicate my work is afterwards that I describe exactly what I did, and I don't want to describe the way I sensed it, I experienced it, because I really don't think that is important for the people who are wanting to enjoy the performance or the work. So if they can read only the facts, they can sort of imagine that somebody experienced something because of these facts. They could even imagine that they are doing the performance themselves. And it's a sort of a way to make the focus not go to me as a performer, but to go to the concept of the performance itself.
Yeah, so your position is almost in a way the position of the common body.
Yeah.
It's like this idea of being anonymous and passing unnoticed in the realm of life movements.
Yeah, yeah. I think the quality of the experiment is far more important than the quality of what I get from it, personally.
And also, if you want us to put some images, like, do you think we could put images that is...
Yeah, there is this one image of the Unnoticed Art Festival. That might be an interesting picture now.
The Moran Hills Festival.
Yeah.
If we can see that.
Yeah, the India Festival. Yeah.
It's actually the image that we're going to see is it's a work between Frans van Lent and Guillaume Dufour-Morin, and it was for the Morny Hills Performance Art Biennale in 2010. So I don't know if we can see the image right now. Maybe not.
But I can,
well, it's okay.
at the same
we'll
time, I can sort of explain the situation.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Guillaume asked me to join in the Biennale, and I didn't have the intention to go there because I thought what I wanted to do was really very much possible in the place where I am now, in the Netherlands. And I invited him to join dinner together, and I asked him to make the menu for that. That was also part of the invitation. So he sort of made a menu, and I got his menu, and then I spent an afternoon in the kitchen cooking, making this menu. And then at the moment that we agreed, it's a moment in Universal Time, so it's the same time in India as it was in the Netherlands.
Okay.
We had a contact, and we wished each other good appetite. And we started eating exactly the same meal at the same time. And that is one of the works. So it's very much...
It's the idea of correspondence. No?
Yeah, it's correspondence, and in that way also ignoring this topographical distance that is in between.
The space between.
Yeah. I can also maybe that's a good idea to also for a second explain another work that is also related to that. It was a work. It's called Westwind. And I did it together with Ed Woodham, and he lives in Brooklyn. And I was in Hoek of Holland at the beach. There was a lot of wind, and I asked him the question, please, the request, please. I'm going to call you. Put your telephone on loudspeaker as loud as possible. So he did, and I called him. And then in his telephone, he could hear the wind of Hoek of Holland blowing in that street in Brooklyn where he was walking at that moment. And that's also something that also takes over this distance in geographical
through time and through different location also. And so thinking about what we're able to perceive working in the public space and what is really happening, you're mentioning I like this idea of the private spheres within the public, almost like if the private could hide in the public. Could you talk to us more about this idea of the unnoticed performances and the importance of keeping the secrecy?
Yeah. In a way, if you imagine a square in a city, and on this square there are people walking with shopping bags, there are people walking with bicycles, or people talking to each other, walking in a certain direction. They all have, in my imagination, they all have their aims and their goals, and they just know what they are doing, and they have ambitions and ideas about what they are exactly doing at that moment, what they're carrying, and things like that. And if you're doing a performance in a space like that, you're doing in a way exactly the same. So you're having your own plans, your own aims, and you're carrying out that performance without people knowing that this is a performance that you're doing. Because one way or another, they would also think, well, it's not of their business what I'm doing. I'm doing something for myself here, and I know exactly why I'm doing it. I really loved to lose this sort of artistic context and to bring it into normal activities in the mundane territory.
Because it's surely a poetic for you in this mundane, and also this idea of that perhaps somebody else is doing an action and you don't know. You don't have this idea, but it could happen. So this possibility is quite interesting.
But I really like it to be something in the privacy of somebody personally. I really appreciate the fact that it's not shared to a big audience, but that it's just for this person who is doing that.
But then you take the documentation,
but
to share it.
If what I do in the documentation is to describe the situation, but what I in situations of joint performances where I do group performances, or for instance the festivals, I never take photos, because photos also, they have the ability to push away the real experience, because what you finally after some time can remember is the photo and nothing else. And so I think you should choose another way of documenting a performance. And what I ask from people who join in performances is just to write down in a few sentences the experience they have, and they write it down just after a performance happened. So it's very fresh. And this is a more human layer to later on communicate what the performance was about.
And did it happen to you, like working in this way, where you were aware that somebody sensed something, that something was happening, but couldn't really know, but this kind of body language of hesitation of am I going to talk to this person? Is it something happened? But what
often
exactly?
happens. That often happens. But the thing is that in public space, people tend to mind their own business. They really sort of hesitating to come into contact with you and ask you things, and really try to get more information about the situation. Most people just want to avoid situations that are confronting like that. So they agree with a lot, and they let you do whatever you want to do, as I let them do whatever they want to do. It's a sort of a non-written...
In the silence also, it's like a body language type of thing. And talking about these, I want to talk about the performative walks that you're doing. And it would be great to have this image of the walking. That you...
There is one performative walk image in it. You see people walking, Corinne? Can you see that?
I don't know if or if we can share the screen. But then maybe we
you
should
could also forget
imagine it, because the image you prefer.
I'll explain about it. That's much better. It's the human layer. What
I'm interested about your performative walks is that, okay, so you decide always to have an image. So this image, is it can it act like a photography by itself, or it's documentation?
Yes, it works in both directions. I do a lot of walks, and during these walks, every now and then I make a photo, and these photos are also shown. I communicate these photos. But for other people who are not aware of what I've been doing, this is just a photo. This means They have aesthetic criteria on the basis of what they look at the photo, and they think it's a photo there. They think it's nice or it's not nice. It doesn't matter too much. But for me, this photo is really part of a walk. It's really something that is related to this experience of the walk that I did, and it will never be something only aesthetic. And that's really the difference. That's the reason why I usually title the photos with the date and
It's about
the
the
time.
experience.
It's very much about the experience. But then at the same time, I can appreciate the fact that it's completely different for the people who are looking at the photo, as it is for me, because this is also, again, the same sort of difference between private and public. They are looking at the photo
Something that
of somebody
happened.
else.
Yeah, and that happened in the past. For them.
And for me, it's much more. It's something out of my own experience.
And this is quite interesting, and it's a conversation that's been going on for a long time. How do you document the most furtive actions, and especially in the public space? And because it's like it's a second layer of viewing the work. You're not in the experience. You are, watching something from the outside.
Yeah, there is this principle of it's empathy, I guess. It's a sort of thinking about what somebody's words mean. And I often make works that are just text, nothing more. And the aim that I have with these works is also that when you read it, you sort of imagine what is the real situation, what could happen if you do this.
And so the people could, in this way, do it themselves.
Yeah. I really invite them to do this. The concept bank, this project I did, is in fact exactly that. I invite people to look up one concept of a performance and to carry it out themselves, and not for a means of making photos or publish it, but just for having the experience.
So how do you know that they carried out the action or not?
There is no way I can be sure that they carried something out, but I always ask if they send me something, and if I get something from a certain performance, I need this to send it to the artist who made this concept as a sort of a feedback, and they usually very much enjoy this, and this is it. I don't publish any photos, nor do I make any other sort of publication about it.
And you make a publication about your transcription, the written text that you're doing?
For myself, you mean? Yeah, but then I can just show this text and nothing else. This is what I often do also in exhibition situations, to sort of provoke this sort of direction that your mind goes when you read it. And
so there's only the text, no video, no image?
No. That's true. And sometimes I do experiments with photos made in during walks, but they are really experiments. They go. They also in the photo they also explain something about the walk that I did and the direction I walked in, and so on.
But not you as the center.
No,
of
it's
the
just
work.
only a description of what actually happened. In fact.
Okay.
And can you describe your interest in being invisible or being unnoticed?
Well, what I found out, for instance, the festivals that I organize, I'm doing open calls for people who are carrying out the works, and I don't focus on artists to join me in doing this. I focus on anybody who likes to do a performance. So this is also a lot of people who are absolutely having no experience at all with doing things in public space. And they really are very happy with the fact that these performances can be done in a certain anonymity. That's really an important aspect. That's a way of being invisible in public sphere.
And if they're not artists themselves, do you think that they come to that because the work is already out of an art context? Do you think that when they come to enact the work, they're also coming closer to being inside this sort of private bubble of understanding art?
I think so, because because I think the real quality of these works is not in the fact that they are part of an art context. The real quality is in the work that in the fact that they are part of a human experience, and they are all humans. I only work with humans.
Okay.
And so when we discussed about sharing specific information about your project, a scene, and you said, I want to quote you on that, because you mentioned that knowing that, because my question was, why do you post, for example, where it's going to happen and details of the action? And you said that knowing that something will happen at a certain time and a certain place feels like magic.
Yeah.
That it creates a sensation of predestination, and that it makes the reader part of the process. And how important are this shared experiences or shared space in your practice?
In a way, they are very important, because they are communicating this principle for people to get away from the normal way of their behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and to make interpretations in very specific situations that are different. It's a sort of defamiliarization. It's something like that, and I really like that very much in those processes. And there are many situations in which these scenes are just something that is. Could happen at every moment and in every place. There's really nothing specific about it, nothing very special about it. The only thing that is really special is that it's predicted, that you know that it's going to be happening.
For you.
Yeah, and for the people reading the announcement, because it's an announcement. So if you read it, you can just try to ignore it. You can be sure that you're not in that spot at that specific moment. But you'll never forget it. You know at that exact time that something is
because
happening.
It's written.
Because it's written and you read it.
And did you have some people responding to you, like creating some action in response to that?
Yeah, well, sometimes there was somebody who, that was the first scene that I did, and I did it in a repetition many months later. Mm-hmm. It was something that involved the dropping of a bag of oranges on the street. And this person was there at the exact moment, and she helped me gathering all these oranges back, and it was really nice. It's really
and so the description that you made at the time, it says, at this specific place and time, I will be...
Yeah, and this will happen. This
will happen.
Yeah, and she just thought, well, if that's going to happen, I'm going to help him. And that is really nice. And sometimes something like that happens. Sometimes you see people, and that's a really sort of awkward situation, that you can see people standing and looking at you as if you're doing something special, and you're doing nothing special, in fact.
Or just standing there.
Or just standing there, but very much focusing on you. And there is, for instance, there was a scene in Rotterdam, in front of Rotterdam Central Station. That's a big square, and this square is always very crowded, and all people there are very much in a hurry. And on the square, I walked a circle of 6 meters, and I did that in 1 hour. So I really walked extremely slow, so slow that these people walking there probably couldn't identify my moving as walking, because they thought I was just standing there.
But the rhythm was sort of, how can I say that? I have the French word in my mind. It was indicating that something happened. Something was happening.
Yeah, well, for
differently.
a lot of people, I was just standing there because they didn't have the time in their fast walk. They didn't have the time to notice that I was actually moving.
Mm.
And for instance, this is a sort of an example of this. In the same situation, there were two policemen coming to me while I was doing that, and they asked me, "What are you doing? Why are you looking at that building?" Because they didn't trust it. Because I was standing there so long looking at that building, and I just said something about the performance. It was really something to get rid of them, and it helped. They just went away.
Because they didn't know what you were talking about.
No. But
they didn't try to arrest you or say
no. They were just curious what I was doing, and they just wanted to see if it was something dangerous or something they had nothing to do with, and it happened to be the last thing.
And do you experiment that often, like this kind of slow rhythm in the city?
I've done some things with slow rhythm, yeah, but not specifically in the city. I also did it in the forest, and then it's some years ago I did the work crossing. That's a video work, and I was crossing a street of about a sort of small rural road for about 5 meters, and I walked. For that, I walked 1.5 hours, so it's the same sort of thing. And at the same time, a car was passing me 5 times. And this car was driving through the woods, and the one who was driving the car, you could see in the video the backside of the person who was driving the car, and she just had to go around me more further and further because I was slowly crossing the street, and she didn't notice me crossing. She only noticed me standing in the middle of the street.
So it's somebody you didn't know?
No, I knew her very well.
Okay.
No, but it was more.
So it was arranged.
Yeah, it was arranged, but it's very much about confronting those two sorts of speed. And in that way, also the impossibility to understand what somebody else is doing,
right?
Because you're in a different.
So it's always about this interchangeable of possible of roles,
yeah,
you know, that
yeah.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, that's very often the case, yeah.
And I would like us to talk about La Biennale de Moment and all the processes that, because this is really the last project. It's your last project.
Yeah.
And all the challenges, because it happened, it's 2020, the beginning?
Yeah, July 2000. No, I think January 2020 was the first presentation of a video about it. Yeah.
Okay, and so, and about what's going to happen tomorrow and everything.
Yeah, well, the process of the Biennale itself, it's about a small village in France, and this village is, there is a lot of things changing in this village, but it all has to do with how it's used by the people there. So earlier there were people who are running farms, who are working with animals, working with the ground, and now there are more people walking there, reading there, doing gardening and things like that. It's really a lot of things.
So
changed.
For the people to know a bit more, that what we're talking is Momont is an actual village.
It's a real village,
in the Périgord in France.
Yeah.
And would you like to read this? I really like this quote about the project, and I think it's a nice way of explaining to the people who are watching us what is La Biennale.
Yeah, the place is still what it always has been. Earth remains earth, and stone remains stone. La Biennale de Moment starts from there, but with the physical village will only be used as a starting point. Not by changing anything, but on the contrary, by keeping it the way it is, by maintaining continuity. The project is about a thin line between two sides of reality, mass and energy. Air touches the earth, the sun moves over the land, objects are illuminated, heated, and perceived, but not changed.
Very nice. And I would invite the public, if you have any questions, to ask Frans and about his practice and as an artist, as a curator, and also about the Biennale. Please type the questions and we'll respond. Okay, there is one question. Okay, could you go here?
This one?
No. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so can we go down a bit? Okay, so the question is, hi Frans, while listening to you speaking about the recreation of your experience in people's minds, I thought of a parallel with guided meditation. Is that a strange idea?
With guided?
Meditation.
I just can't say. In fact, I have no idea if that's a strange idea. I can imagine that meditation is a certain state, and it's, I think, far too intense to be compared with this. The things that I mean is something like you get your bike from the shed and you go bike for 30 meters and then you go to the right. It's very mundane. It's something else than it could. Guided meditation could be part of it, but it's not really something that is very parallel to it, I think.
Does it answer the question? We'll see. We'll see after a while.
Yeah.
If anybody else have questions, we have a bit of time to answers. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks to you for the question. And maybe while we're waiting for questions, if you want to talk more about what's going to happen tomorrow, the symposium.
Tomorrow there is we have the symposium in the Dordrecht Museum. It's the address is Museumstraat 38 in Dordrecht. The symposium will start at 1:00. It's possible to go in then, and at 1:30 the actual speaking will start, and it will go on till I think 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon. And all the participating artists in the project, that's altogether 9 artists, will do a presentation. There will be one of those presentations will be a video presentation and online long distance presentation, but for the rest, all the artists are there available in real life.
Finally,
because the project was taking a long time, and we're not able to travel like everybody in this world. And now finally we all here. And there is also a guest, a curator that I asked, Ruud Axe. He's the founder and curator of MP3 in Groningen, and he is going to tell something about his experiences with having these specific spaces and these exhibitions coming in and going out and changing all the time. And that's a sort of comparable to the quality of the village that we were talking about. This village that remains exactly the same while people come in, change things in their life and just leave again. Other people come in. So this is sort of connected in that way. That's why he is there.
The continuity of time.
And the human, it's like a cloud coming in, and it just drives away when other weather is coming.
I like this idea of the continuity.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the question was about guided meditation, about this continuity.
Yeah. I can imagine that, but if you say guided meditation, it's already very much in one sort of line, and I really want to see it in a much broader sense.
Yeah. And I think people should know that the Biennale de Moment is actually a website.
Yeah.
And we really invite you to go experience. It's interactive, and it's the address is moment.fr, and you can see the work of everyone and experience it and read about it.
Yeah.
There's another question.
No, I thought I just wanted to make sure that they know exactly how to spell it. Because if they go to the website, you have to...
Moment.fr, yeah.
It's MOMON.
MOMON. I think, it's written on the chat there.
Perfect.
And so there's a question from Ike. Ike Trinks that says, what is your next project, Frans? Can you already think about the next one?
Yes. Yeah, I can. I'm going to do a residency in the AADK, Spain, in Murcia, in Spain. And this residency is in a sort of project, and the thing that I'm focusing on is subjective topography, which is sort of related to this. I have no idea where to go to with this, but well, that's the 2 months that I'm working on that. That's coming next 2 months, October, November.
Well, from nothing.
Pardon?
From nothing, we can do a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We can talk about nothing. We said we would.
Yeah. Well, in the way we did, I think.
Yeah. Is there any more questions or comments for Frans? Anything else that we didn't cover that you feel is important regarding your practice?
I think it's good to mention that a lot of my the organization of projects that I do is done by open calls, and a lot of these open calls are on my website, but also I do them on Facebook and Rhizome, for instance, also. And if you want to join one of these projects, I'm always very happy for people to join. And that's also an invitation, serious invitation. If you want to send a concept to theconceptbank.org, please do so. And I can't really be sure that I'll take all the concepts, because I really have to make sure that there is a lot of variety in it. But it's always worthwhile looking around and see if it's something for you.
So that's the conceptbank.org.
Yeah. The Concept Bank is one word.
Theconceptbank.org.
Yeah.
And then open calls through Facebook. That's what one of my questions also, because there's this huge network and people in different directions also. And I was wondering how you find the people, how you find your collaborators, and this is one way.
This is one way. And it's also a matter of having a lot of patience, because things happen in time.
Definitely. Yeah. And then also, if you let time, then you can find more questions, which they are there. It says it's from the Out of Sight people. Can you talk about how the cooperation with curating other artists is part of your methodology?
Well, I don't want to be in the position that I'm seen as a curator in my projects. I always try to avoid that, and I try to be actually try to be one of the artists between the artists. And I think it's for me, curating is also it's a way of experimenting, and it's a way of experimenting together with other artists. So it's not comparable to what a normal curator does. So maybe I shouldn't call it curating.
Because you are always in your project.
Yeah, I'm always in my project, and the projects are always important for my art practice. And I see for myself, these projects are also part of my art practice. It's like a work. It's a technique that I use. Like I use video.
Like it's like being inside, outside. Exchanging again the goals.
It's really
about the collective.
Yeah, that's really part of our work.
Is it responding to the question? It's a bit of a delay, I think. If there is more questions, please don't be shy to put them out there. And so you were talking about something else before we had the question. I forgot. Anyway.
We started with the questions, you mean?
Yeah.
That's too long ago. I really don't remember that.
We started with something. Anything else that you want to talk about? The symposium, what's going to happen tomorrow?
I exactly know what's going to happen. We're going to start with a sort of an introduction in the whole of the project, so you can learn something about what the Biennale was about. And after that, all the artists are doing presentations, and the presentations are actually related to their work for the Biennale, but also in the context of the other work. It's not counting for everybody, but some of them would do it that way. Some of them do. There's a lot of freedom in how to do this. And then that will be about it, I think. And then one thing that is quite important, Steve van Lent, he's the one who is making a film of the whole of the project.
So he's making a movie.
Yeah, he's making a movie, and he's really working the whole of the time in the project. He's already working on that. The symposium will also be part of that work. And finally, I think it will be in a few months, maybe December or January. He will do the presentation of the final movie
here in Dordrecht.
Yeah, I think it's.
So that's going to be available for people to see.
Yeah. It will also be available online also.
With the moment.fr.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yes, check the project, the concept bank, and the project moment.fr, and we will have the symposium also recorded.
Yeah. There is
original work.
Yeah. It's completely from A to Z. It's recorded, but it's recorded from one point of view, so it's not really a sort of a dynamic thing, and it's just meant to look back if you want to see certain parts. So that. I'll try to make this also available online, but it will be 5 or 6 hours, so it's long. It's a big thing. It's not a small file.
Yeah, it's hard to edit because you want to give the voice to all the artists.
It's just one shot.
So can we? Yes, there's another one from Ike saying, "You always seem to me very strict in your art making. Do you follow specific guidelines, Frans? And do you sometimes have ideas that don't fit in your œuvre?"
Maybe, I don't know if you will believe it, but I'm never thinking about what fits in my œuvre. I'm just doing the things that I want to do, and together they make an œuvre, I think. But it's not something I tend to think about. And there are also things that I don't do, but they're usually the bad ideas. And
sometimes is it spontaneous? Like, do you go outside and say, not in the perspective of making an action, an artwork, and then something happens?
Something happens, yeah. And also what happens a lot with me, and that's also sort of a romantic thing, that if I can't sleep at night, that's the moment that a lot of things appear in my mind. And I usually can sleep much better if I've got a good idea.
And so is this because I saw a work that you did in collaboration with Manuela Mako from Torino, and you said there was something about meeting in the dark.
Yeah, shared darkness it's called.
And shared darkness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's we chose 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes of every month. So from midnight and the first of every month.
Okay.
And we were somewhere in darkness, and we tried to connect one way or another. And we did all sorts of experiments to make this work. So that we have been standing inside, we have been standing outside, and we have been standing there with a working phone without talking or any sound. We did all sorts of things to make this happen.
In the middle of the night.
In that 15 minutes, always that 15 minutes.
15 minutes from midnight to.
Yeah, and we also in the publications online on Facebook, for instance, we also always invited other people to join, not by telling us that they were joining, but just by joining.
And did it happen? Do you know?
I have no idea. But that's the consequence of not telling us. I don't know.
So in a way, you don't control everything.
No.
So you're not planning anything.
No, it's good. It's good. In some things, it's really good to just don't think about controlling and just let it happen as it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then retake the control at some point.
For some things it's important. For other things, it's
because the thing with spontaneous actions, like you step outdoor and something happened and it stimulates you to do a work and you do it, but where do you draw the line, that this was.
I usually don't do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that I just come up spontaneous with an idea.
So you think about it.
Yeah, it takes longer. Yeah. and it's not always what you call thinking, but it takes longer to
reflect, or I don't know how to call it, but
yeah.
maybe not thinking with.
No. There needs a certain time to be sure that you want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And very often when I organize these scenes, I just start an event, don't fill it in. I just start an event at a certain date, and I give myself a sort of deadline, and then things start to develop.
So. Nice. Another question?
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody has something. We pretty much did a full circle, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Do you want to say the I just want to become famous by followers? What is that? It's an ad that's coming in. Wow. Okay.
No, I don't want to become famous.
No, I don't want to become famous
no.
either. I think this is good for us. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you, Frans.
Thank you
very much about this.
Yeah.
And Corinne, if you have any other ad to tell about the Out of Sight Artist Focus, the next Artist Focus, because maybe you can step in. Yes. Okay.
Hi, Corinne.
Some technical issues.
But yes, next week on Saturday, September 25th, we have Low Bill from Canada, and I'm going to bring up. I'm just going to take us. Tomorrow, the La Biennale de Moment starts at 13:30. And next week we have Low Bill on the program, and we have lots of exciting random public performances coming to you live from the Out of Sight Twitch channel. And tomorrow we'll be live streaming a section of the performance. So do tune in and join us then. And thank you so much to Frans van Lent for joining us today, and Martine Viale for facilitating the conversation. And we have a few more comments. Thanks from Bo, and for the beautiful conversation and the from Dimple, and lots of thanks. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frans. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.